Welcome to the Naughty Numerology Podcast. I'm your host, Rafi, expert numerologist and accidental empath, here to help you decode your own spiritual journey through the matrix with numerology, news, and a hell of a lot of nonsense. Today's episode, woo, let's just say I have a disclaimer, my friends, and let's get it going. Hope y'all are doing well. So it's Rafi. Hold on, I put the wrong thing down. Don't turn off the mic, genius. I need a producer. Hello. If this isn't like obvious enough, like I need a producer. So somebody want to spend a couple hours with me weekly, just help me produce this. That would be great. Fantastic. Okay, so what I'm doing over here is actually going to turn down the headphones. For the love of all things holy. Okay, so hello everyone. Again, it's Rafi with the Naughty Numerology Podcast and Rafi Reads Numbers. I don't think that I have had this much trepidation over doing someone's chart before. I have, but it's different for some reason. And it could be because of the fact of it initially what I started experiencing immediate anxiety over the moment I calculated this chart for this person who I had not known existed until today. Never heard their name. I'm not familiar with them. Complete stranger. I don't know them. Okay. However, the chart was so powerful and immediately intense that I said, do I really want to do this? Because I'm going to have to go in. Now, having said that, anybody who is familiar with me at all understands that my Aries is in Mercury and I never have a problem saying my shit. Like in fact, I can be a little extra. So it's never that I'm scared to speak truth. But this one just hit me as far as like, I felt like immediately I was like, don't bring the hate over here. Like, I don't want any smoke. And so I felt compelled to tell y'all the following and give this disclaimer before we go into this chart. First and foremost, the only reason we'll do a free little sponsorship. The only reason I'm actually doing this episode is per a special request from my boy Carrie from Hood Dispensary TV. Shout out to them, which is actually a really professional production crew and do big things with video and podcasting and stuff over there. So repping Dallas in a huge way. A shout out to them and my boy Carrie. But here's what happened. In the past couple of days, I dropped an episode, a sports special with Kyrie Irving, Luka, CD, Dez, and Stephen A. Smith. And I've gotten a couple of requests for other sports people. And this was one of those requests that I got today. Now, I saw my boy earlier really quickly, just for a couple minutes, and I had asked him if he had checked out the episode that I dropped. And he was like, you should do Damon. And I was like, ooh, Desmond Damon Bryant. I was like, I just did Dez's. And he was like, no. Draymond Green from the Golden State Warriors. And I was like, okay, cool. So boom, I go home. I love getting requests for people that I have no clue about because those are the readings that help me to learn so much more because numerology is it's like counting to infinity. You're never going to get to the end of it, right? So this allows me to learn more and it's truly interesting. It's a challenge for me. So I love doing strangers numerology and even when I have clients or what have you, the only reason that I had to Google him was to find out number one, I had the wrong first name. It wasn't Demond, it was Draymond. and B number 2 because I needed to look up his full name and his birth date. But I did not read any further into that. Again, those not familiar with me, I am an expert numerologist. I have years of content and history and reputation. I'm not going to talk about that right now, but trust me when I say I always come with receipts. Now, the reason that I'm being extra about saying this is because I'm feeling trepidation as far as some of the things I may have to speak on with this. Now, as an empath, I am intentionally kind of shutting off that side of it and going to be doing my best to focus on just the numbers and speaking on the numbers and the energies of the numbers and the attributes of the numbers. That's how intense this chart is, because my fear is, and I don't know why, but like my fear is that I'm going to get a whole bunch of hate about this. Meanwhile, I don't know who this person is. I have zero clue. I do not watch basketball. Literally, the only reason that I did Kyrie and Luka's was because I am obsessed with Kyrie Irving, of course, but not because of he's a sports star. I talk all about it in the Kyrie episode. Go watch it. I'm not going to go into it now. Anyways, I do not watch basketball or any other sport besides professional football. Anybody who knows me knows I'm a diehard Cowboys fan, hence the CD and does. Okay. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, just so you know, this is not coming from anything personal, right? And if there's any smoke, y'all go check out the homie who requested the video, because I am just coming with love. Just know I'm coming with love and a bunch of numerology information because it's my passion to teach it. With that being said, let's go ahead, and I also got another request recently, which was to actually do the breakdowns of the numbers and how I'm getting their charts. I didn't think anybody would be interested in actually the boring, like the detailed math of it, but it's been requested. So, and yet a great chart to do this with, because y'all can go take everything I've broken down here and you can run your little happy selves to Google and verify that I'm teaching you correctly. All right. Here's this chart. This is how I do the breakdowns of numerology charts, okay? First and foremost, we have his jersey number, 23, right? Then we have his government, right? Draymond Green. I hope I'm saying that right. We have his birthday, March 4th, 1990. And then we have his entire chart here. Now, we have two charts. And I say this always, especially with these guys, because his Draymond Green name is not what we call him, or not what y'all call him, because I didn't know about him until today. But I'm sure he's called Draymond Green. So that energy is going to be what is pushed out and perpetrated far more, as well as what he identifies with far more than his full government, if that makes sense. That's why I'm doing the second chart. And is it relevant in this regard? But let's go through how I do the charts real quick, okay? Here is the key. You go 1 through 9 and write the alphabet. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, boom. And then J, K, L, M, N, O, P, boom. And then finish it out. And these are going to be the corresponding numbers for those letters, okay? Then you just go ahead and you deduce it in here. And I've highlighted a couple of submaster things that we'll talk about later, but this is how you do the chart. Now, in everybody's numerology chart, you have 5 placements: your life path, your birth date, your expression, your perception number, or what's called personality, and then your heart's desire or soul urge number. Those are these 5 placements right here, okay? And we're going to talk about all of the numbers and all of that, but I'm going to keep this over here in the background so that y'all can continue to learn and look at it. Can you see it? It's backwards, but there's reference there. Pause the video if you want to. I kept it up there for a while. And I'm probably going to make a chart and put it out on PDF or something like that. So anyways, without further ado, Let's do the numerology, personal numerology chart of Draymond Jamal Green from the Golden State Warriors, I believe, who is number 23 on the team. So let's talk about it. I think part of the reason that I teach numerology and that I'm passionate about it is because imagine knowing a language that hardly anybody else spoke, right? But through this language, you were able to see and understand things in so much richer and in depth of a way, right? That is what numerology is like to me. So, part of my passion in teaching this is so that people can learn how to decode as well, right? And and we can continue to decode. Other people are out there doing decodes. Again, numerology is like infinity. You're never going to get to the end of it. So even though as an expert, I don't know everything. There's still a lot I learned from each and every reading. So learn to decode with me and watch how it works in people's lives. But with that being said, I think a big reason why I felt a lot of hesitancy and maybe a little anxiety for this was because of the intensity of the chart. And that's initially what I thought. And then I thought, okay, well, this is something that you're going to be seeing some shit and there could be some lashback, there could be some smoke. And I'm like, yeah, but I normally don't care. Like, I don't care. I don't care. I say my shit. And then I was like, you know what? This actually feels more like the energy of the person in the chart that I'm doing, who I have zero clue about them. Didn't know they existed until today. So I decided to do this, right? It's a dooz. It's a doozer. So let's talk a little bit about our placements, our life path. Okay, let's start out with the life path. Our life path number and energy is our purpose. It's our destination energy. Ultimately, what we are going to be the soul's growth, the soul's achievement purpose, right? So a lot of us will not exhibit maybe most or all of the attributes of our life path number until maybe a little bit later on in life, right? The other latter half of life, if you will. This can be seen in several people's lives. For instance, Kim Kardashian, Donald Trump, both are life path fours like me. The 4 is the builder, but it's also justice. You can see this. Kim was really the main brand builder under Chris for a long time among the sisters, right? And still is. And until she got into her 40s, then she started getting into the prison reform stuff and studying to be a lawyer under Van Jones, so on and so forth. And then you see it in Trump's life, whereas he's literally built his empire on real estate. So the builder, right? And then you see in his latter years, he's moving into the justice side of the 4 with going into politics. All right. So just a little breakdown on how the energy works. Whereas your birthday number is your daily energy. That's the journey. So the parts of you that stay the same and never change from birth until death. And they go into support that overall ultimate life path energy. Okay. Those both are derived from the actual date of somebody's birth. And then you have your expression, which is how and why you do things based on, of course, your numbers, but environmental factors, experiences, influences, so on and so forth. Then there's your personality, but I hate that name for it because it's your perception number. It's how you're perceived by the world, right? It may not always be what you are, but it's how you're perceived to be. And then lastly is our heart's desire number, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's what we want out of life, our soul urge. So placements matter, as well as numbers, and this is a great chart to do this with, as well as numbers that aren't even in our chart could matter. This is how This is how we interact with the matrix. Okay? I've always said numerology is the fundamental truth of our simulation. It is the binary coding of our simulation. Yes, I believe in a creator, what most people call God. Yes, I believe in that. I am not a religious person, but I'm very spiritual and I know we were created, right? However, our creator created our simulation, took a part of his soul, that soul essence that is our creator, took little pieces of himself and put them into avatars on Earth to experience the 3D, right? As well as other dimensions, I believe, other densities, whole other can of weird worms. But we were coded, and that is what numerology is. It is the binary coding to the simulation. So we also have our own blueprint or binary coding to our life's experience. Just like our DNA is the blueprint to our physiological makeup, how we're going to look, all of that. Our numerology, our personal numerology, is the blueprint or binary coding to our soul's experience. And this is why I believe numerology was such a catalyst in my spiritual gifts manifesting. I believe it was a code download, a hack of some sort. Because when you start to intertwine the energies of these numbers, things happen. And this is a great chart to show that with. Also, Des Bryant's was probably the ultimate chart to show that with, which is I just posted that as the last episode make sure to go check that episode out as well. But it's incredibly interesting when you start to understand what numerology is and how it works in life. Well, how do we know it's real? We all know the energy, everything and everyone is energy, right? We all know that now. Science has proven that. How do we quantify energy? Through frequency. How do we quantify frequency? Through numbers. Therefore, everything and everyone is numbers. And as you learn numerology and the energies and attributes of these numbers, you can begin to decode and see how the matrix works, thereby being able to potentially hack it as well. I hope that made sense. Without further ado, let's go ahead and do this chart. I do apologize. Let me grab really quickly. And let me take a slide. I'm just going to do this how I want to do it. I'm not going to try to be like, I have a feeling I may not even be able to help some of the stuff that comes out. I'm going to do my best. Once again, sir, Mr. Draymond, I have no clue who you are. I have never heard of you before in my life, and I have text messages to prove it. All right, so let's start out with, it's like, where do I even start out? Let's start out with the birth date number here, right? It's the second in how I have it written out, but it's the 4, birth date 4. So we talked about how the birthday energy is your everyday energy. That's the journey energy. So the parts of you that have always been that way, they're always going to be that way. What is the 4? We talked about the 4. The 4 is the builder. The 4 is also justice. The 4 is a leader. It's one of the 3 leaders among the cardinals. 1 through 9 is the cardinals. The 1, the 4, and the 7 are the leaders. Look at the shapes of the numbers as I talk about them. They're going to have a tremendous amount to do with their attributes. The 1, the 4, and the 7, the only 3 among the cardinals that have no whimsical rounds or curves to them whatsoever. And this is because they are far more like intolerant, rigid type, stubborn people because they are the leaders. And they have to be. So very dominant. All of them are masculine. very dominant, masculine leader of men in that regard, and has always been a dominant person. 4 is organization, and it's also justice, trying to right the wrongs, which everything is perception. What one person sees as wrong may not be wrong to somebody else, right? Just keep that in mind, is what I'm being led to say. So we have that 4, the builder. There's just his every single day energy, was of leadership and coordination somehow. 4s a lot of times, especially in high placements, can be kind of OCD. They can be kind of obsessive with how things must be, very intolerant. Okay, let's move on to the life path number, which is, as we see, life path 8. So, if for any of you who have seen my content, pretty much any content, because I find myself talking about the 8 and the 5, even in consults and videos where there is no 8 and 5, such as Des Bryant's yesterday. Such relevant numbers. And they are the most volatile pairing of all, right? Complete toxicity, best friends, but just roll themselves into trouble, right? They're going to go out for the night. They're going to have an epic time. It's the drunk Uncle 8 and Aunt 5, who's hella cute, hella fun, right? Party girl. Best friends. They have the best of intentions. They love each other, but they're going to jail each and every time because it's overindulgence. It is, there's just a ton of very chaotic energy together. That's why the 8 and the 5 are the most volatile. All right, let's talk about the 8. What is the 8? The 8 is power, money, karma, risk, resilience, alchemy, manifestation, magic, ego, trauma. It's the most powerful among the cardinals 1 through 9. I liken it to a master, 11, 22, and 33. The 8 is every number carries shadow and light. We all have free will in life. We can choose dark stuff and to be negative and low frequency, or we can choose to be light, right? And that's a major thing for an 8, because the 8 is, even though all numbers have shadow and light, the 8 is probably shadow in itself. The 8 is a number highly used in the occult. It carries tremendous power with it. 8s can be, when I said this in Des's video, when I personify the 8, I always talk about one of 2 people, either Kanye Omari West or Des Bryant. Now, Des has no 8 in his chart, either one of his charts whatsoever. He has 0 8s in his chart. Why is that so relevant? I mean, the 88, not only that he was born in 88, and the name Des itself deduces to 8. So the man cannot escape 8, despite the fact that it's in his chart. But what does he have a hell of a lot of in his chart? 5s. So we saw in that reading why, I guess we saw proof for things that, maybe challenges that we saw him go through, and be set against him, so. But that's the energy of the 8 and the 5, and this is going to matter later on. But continuing with the 8 is what I call the ultimate phoenix, because again, the 8 is resilience. With one unwise risk, the 8 will crash and burn into the ground. But again, take a look at the shape of the numbers. You have an infinity symbol, right? Karma. What you put in, you get back. And then you also have, or like 2 balls, just depending on how you write your eights. So if you were to like physically pick up the 8 and like drop it, it's going to bounce back quicker, higher, faster than any other number. And that's because it is the most resilient number. Why is it so resilient? Because the 8 was made for trauma. The 8s are like the Dawn soap that is the oil cesspool sea of life, right? I have 8 in my perception number, personality number. So um, I have, my family's got high 8, so I know all about it. I have a 5 in my chart too, which thank God they're lower numbers in my chart, but at the same time, it's present. So the 8 is the most resilient number. And so when it does crash and burn with that unwise risk, it's going to bounce back quicker and higher than anybody else. Crazy bounce back game, right? And it's almost like it looks like good luck. So a lot of 8s will experience that, like good luck or bad luck, just depending on, again, are they picking shadow? Are they picking light? My ex was an amplified 11-8, and that man was magic in ways. Literally could manifest shit like tens of thousands of dollars in moments, like crazy. The 8 is the manifester. So a tremendous amount of power and so much energy to the 8. I was talking with somebody recently about the 8, and they were like, I don't see the 8 as infinity, as, never ending. I see it as very enclosed, which is another way to put it when speaking of shadow and light in each number, right? It can be very, very closed in. It can be a trapped soul in ways. Somebody who can't escape something about themselves or their life, right? I'm not saying it in this regard. I'm just saying somebody brought that up to me recently, and I thought it very interesting with regards to shadow and light. So we have that ultimate phoenix, most powerful number in numerology, right? That is pretty much like a master. It's the magic man, the manifester, but it's also a hell of a lot of ego. It's passion. So we're going to talk about this in a minute because I'm going to come back to it. Let's go on to the expression number. In our government chart, it is the 9. So what is the 9? The 9 is the omega among the cardinals. So 1 is the alpha, 9 is the omega, 9 is the closer. A lot of times 9s will be kind of impatient. I can see that in an expression position where how a 9 would be operating in life is very like close it down, shut it down, wrap it up, get it done, get it done. Very impatient type of personality. But in other placements, it's the healer. It's the shapeshifter. And there again, we have shadow and light, the two sides of that attribute of the 9. I call it the shapeshifter because the 9 is comprised of every other number of the cardinals. Therefore, it has the ability to transmute its energy that much more easily into every other number's energy versus the rest of us judgmental assholes who have a lot more filters and are a lot more critical. The good side of the 9, then the light side of the 9 is the healer. They want everybody to win. They want to save the world type of very self-sacrificing. And so the 9 has a tendency to be a sponge, an energy sponge in life. Now, I usually tell 9s be very careful because they're generally very selfless and they give too much of themselves and they got to put their oxygen mask on first. I'm not seeing that here. I'm just not in this position. This is the shapeshifter in the expression position. So I'll speak of it this way. This person or this chart, what this chart tells me, because I'm not going to talk about the person, I don't know. This chart tells me that this expression right here of 9 within the chart is the shapeshifter. So 1 minute can seem like so good and solid and stand up, and then the next moment just be something completely different, right? And especially because of the fact that A, it's in the expression position, but B, we have yet another 8 in our basic chart, which is the perception number. So the perception number of 8 is going to carry a lot of influence energy with it, influence and power, right? That's more of that one versus manifesting 8 or karmic 8. This is more, this is less ego in a way. I mean, there's ego throughout the 8. So in a perception, yeah, there's going to be a lot of ego, but it's just not as weighty as the life path 8. However, we're still bringing in the amplification number of the 8. So, in addition to the fact that we have that life path 8, your heaviest number, and it's the most powerful number among the cardinals, and then you have this leadership 4, which is the leader of men, and then you have this expression 9, which is the shapeshifter position, which with these two 8s surrounding that, there's the 9 is too susceptible. The 9 is like the sponge because it's the healer. It so to me that's a picture of the 9 being an open conduit, channeler of energy, right? That comes in and then it gets stuck within that 8, that karmic 8. That's what this feels like to me. Strong. And then you got two 8s surrounding it, right? Well, let's go to our heart's desire number. The heart's desire number is the 1. Well, what is the 1? Like we said before, it's one of the leaders. It is the first leader. It's the male dominant father energy. It is also the one and only, one in a million. Very unique, authentic, a lot of times weird. I'm a birthday 1, so weird. I embrace my weird. I love being different, just very unique. Not afraid to go their own way and blaze their own path, and they don't care if people follow them. But as such, they become leaders, right? The 1 is like the CEO, whereas the 4 is like the director of operations, and the 7 is like the executive producer, kind of pulling the strings from behind, right? They all do have some protection number, but I'd say the least protective out of the 3 leaders is the 4. So we have a little bit of protection there in his birth date number, but not to hold back two 8s with a 9 that's just sitting there like a sponge, not doing anything, but channeling that energy, leaving the hole more open. So that's what this chart is. That's what this main chart is, right? And then the 1 is the male dominant leader. So ultimately, wanting to be righteous in life, wanting to do the right thing, wanting to be that leader, that stand up person. Once again, look at the very, very stubborn, very dominant, stuck in the mud. Once again. But let's go to the second chart. Because again, it matters. People are calling him by his first and last name, right? And his jersey number. We're going to get to this. So his second chart is 84898. So all we've done by taking away his middle name and energy, when you're speaking his name, it is pushing out more intensely the energy of the second chart, 84898. So now we have 3 8s, a triplicate of the 8. Power, money, karma, risk, resilience, alchemy, magic, manifestation, pride, ego, passion. What this tells me, hold on, let's back up. Here's some good news. Look, here's some good news. Because again, it's passion. I'm just going to say it. Like, the sex with that man is probably out of this world. The passion of that man, despite whatever else may be, 3 8s in your chart. Holy hell. But I mean, it's a ton of passion. It's a ton of passion. And then we move the placements around as well. So we have the 8 and the expression position. So this means he's doing everything with power. How he's moving in life is with power, money, karma. He's moving karmically. And then the personality of 9. How you're perceived is and I'm just going to say it like how it's coming to me, and I just want to kind of go there. I'm going to speak about the numbers and that's it. But in this position, in this is somebody that is seen as who will switch up on you, who's maybe not trustworthy. Again, just reading the numbers and the placements. I don't know this person. And then changing the heart's desire from the 1 to the 8. You're wanting power, money, karma. Zero protection. Zero protection. And this is here's where it really, kind of fucked with me a little bit, because I was like, thank God. Thank God. The only thing that could have made this chart any crazier is if it had a 5 in it, right? But it didn't. So I was like, okay, maybe this is just a really powerful person, or maybe huge influence, and I'm sure all of that is applicable. I don't know. However, their other numerological identity is a 5. So that 5 is fucking with everything else. That 5 is bringing the toxicity into everything else. I don't know you, Mr. Draymond, and I hope to God if you ever see this, like, you understand I am not trying to be judgmental in any way, shape, or form. I also know that you've been through a ton of shit, because 8 is trauma. For you to have 2 natural 8s in your regular, and then 3 in your, bro. But I can say a lot of it was brought on. Could have brought a lot of it on yourself, but initially, yeah, you went through it. Again, 8s are made for trauma. We soak up the toxicity in life, and a lot of times, because we're all magnetic, we throw it back out there, right? Throw it back out. And that's why I said that with that 9. So again, I don't know this person. I'm just reading the numbers and saying what's coming to me in energy, as much as I'm trying to block energy. You can't always do that. My personal suggestion, Mr. Green, would be for you to change your jersey number, sir, to something with a 3 in it. I don't know if you want to make that a 21. I don't know if you want to make that a 12. I don't know if you want to make that something else that's going to be 3. I'm thinking 66, but no. That's 12. Yep. Okay. You could do 66 as well, because 6 plus 6 is 12. 1 plus 2 is 3. So you absolutely could do. That's why I was thinking 66. Yeah, you could do 66 as well. Get some 3. Get some 3 in your life, boo boo. And if she was born on a 5, run. Run. If she was born on a 5, if she was born in May, if she has 5 in her chart, run. Because, oh shit. And I normally don't even do cards. I normally don't do numerology cards. I just like, this person probably needs a little bit of advice. And I don't want to read too much into it. I honestly don't. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm just going to pull some cards. I just shuffled them, okay? Let's see what jumps out and just see kind of where it goes from there. I'll do 3 cards only since we're talking 3. No, not 5. We're going to be doing 3. 3 cards only. Because that is the number. And winched. All right. 3 came up. Oh, would you look at this? I think we found our New Jersey number. I like it. That's why I said 66 earlier, because I wasn't even fully deducing it yet. And I was like, wait a minute. 3 plus 3 is 6. It's not the opposite way. And I was like, no, 66. But then I was like, oh, yeah, 6 plus 6 is 12. So it would be 3. So I think 66 is supposed to be your Jersey number, my love. The reason why is because the 3 is the most protective number. Look at the shape. What is the 3? The 3 is the creative child. The 3 is divinely gifted. We talked a lot about the 3 in the last sports reading. The 3 is the creative child. It is a wise old soul. You ever seen a kid and you're like, that little guy's been here before on this planet in somebody else's body, and can't nobody say a thing to me otherwise, right? That is the energy of the 3. A wise youth. And look at the shape of the 3. What's it going to do with the 8? It's going to cuff it. It's going to protect it. Get some 3 in your life, my friend. And again, I called out the 66 without even deducing. I think you should be. I don't know if there's a 66 on the Golden State Warriors, but this would be a wonderful jersey number for you, Mr. Draymond Jamal Green. If you happen to be open to taking advice from a complete stranger who happens to be an expert numerologist. All right. Okay, so we have the 14. 5. And what is it? It's moderation. Oh, let's talk about this. Let's go back. We didn't even talk about the healing on here. We didn't even talk about the healing. I want to talk a little bit about the 6 too. What is the 6? It is the love of home and family and tradition, things that are sacred surrounding the home and family. Right? If you're feeling a pull, like away from home life, if there's a constant struggle, it's that 5. It is that 5, because 5 is change, movement, vacation. It's atomic energy. It's constant stimulation. It's hoe life. A 5 and an 8 together, strong 5 and an 8, you a hoe. I'm not calling anybody a hoe. I'm saying if there is a strong 5 and an 8 together, typically it is a hoe, because the 5 and the 8 are both pleasure and they are indulgence. They are vices. They're addiction. They are obsession together. That is the energy of obsession, crazy, toxic obsession. Overindulgence, vices. So you got to take everything in what? Moderation. You saw me flip the cards. All right. Last one. 81. Leadership. 8 plus 1 is 9. So your expression was 9. And your government chart. It's so interesting because the 9 is the healer. So for leadership, but it's also the 81. So we're talking about that trauma and everything that's with the 8 mixing with the energy of the 1, which is the straight up diligent leader, like doing things right, stubborn, very adamant, vehement with it. That's what's making this 9 here. Hence why it's probably not the healer in this deck, at least, right? Leadership. You know, the 9 is the omega, but think about a wolf pack. They have the alpha and they have the omega, and the omega is just as much of a leader in ways as the alpha. The omega is just as important as the alpha, maybe more important, because they keep the rest of the pack together. They close it up. They like protect the rest of the pack, from the back. So it's also a leader in that regard. So I can see that. So however that may, well, I feel like I'm talking to this person. They're probably going to never see me or this, but in case you ever see this, hope that made sense. All right, guys. Well, I really actually this went a lot better than I thought it was going to. So I do have a feeling that that intense energy of like, don't come for me was coming from his chart, was coming from him. Like maybe this is somebody with a personality of don't come for me. Don't come for me. Like I don't care. Take that shit elsewhere. Oh, also, just seeing this right now, but that 66 is pretty relevant tonight. Just noticed it. Mr. Green. I hope that makes sense. I hope nobody got offended. I don't think anybody will because like I said, now that it's done, I think I was channeling something else earlier. So with that being said, thanks for the suggestion, Carrie, and let me know your thoughts. If anybody else has any suggestions, 88% on the battery right now. Anybody else want to see their favorite sports star, their chart or artist or politician, please let me know. I love doing this stuff. I love, especially if I don't know who they are. It's a challenge for me, and I love it. So, of course, if you have any questions, feel free to hit me up. It is at Naughty Numerology Podcast on Instagram and TikTok, and of course, there is at Rothy Reads Numbers on TikTok, Instagram, as well as Facebook. Make sure to follow the podcast. We're streaming on pretty much most mainstreaming platforms now, Naughty Numerology, and then also on YouTube. We're now on YouTube as well, so make sure to catch our videos, which you're probably watching this on YouTube now that I'm thinking about it. Thanks so much for watching, and yeah, we'll talk soon. If you also, if you are interested in doing a reading on here, we can do that as well. I wanted to start closing the show out with a tagline and a final thought. And I really considered what that final thought should be, what the ultimate essence of my final thought would be, which is the thought that, and I don't know how I'm going to quote this yet, but cowards deserve what they get. So be brave. The best way I can say that. I hope that didn't sound ugly. Like, be brave. It's what I want everybody to really start doing in life, is be brave. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.